Steam is going crazy again because the spring sale is finally here, and the discounts right now are honestly insane. We're talking massive AAA games dropping to 90% and even 95% off, huge bundles for just a few dollars, great co-op games to play with friends, and even a couple of titles you can grab for free if you act fast. And the best part is these aren't random low-quality picks. These are actually great games, popular, highly rated, and absolutely worth adding to your library while the prices are this low. So today I've put together a fresh list of the best Steam spring sale deals you definitely shouldn't miss. Today we're checking out some awesome deals from the 2P Games spring sale, who also sponsored this video. First up is Sultan's game, currently 20% off. This is a dark fantasy strategy game with a heavy focus on storytelling, choices, and survival. You're basically navigating a dangerous royal court, managing resources, making decisions, and dealing with intrigue, betrayal, and power struggles. The whole game has a very unique atmosphere inspired by Middle Eastern tales, and it mixes card-based mechanics with narrative gameplay in a really interesting way. If you enjoy story-driven strategy games where your decisions actually matter, this one is definitely worth a look. Next is Kotama and Academy Citadel, currently 15% off. This one is a Metroidvania-style action-adventure with a strong focus on exploration. You're moving through a large interconnected world, unlocking new abilities, discovering hidden areas, and slowly expanding what you can access as you progress. The visuals are clean, the world design is detailed, and it really gives you that classic exploration feel where you constantly find new paths and secrets. If you're into games like Hollow Knight or Ori, this is definitely something you might enjoy. Next is Reincarnation Insurance Program, currently 10% off. This is a fast-paced action roguelite where you fight through waves of enemies, collect gear, and build up insanely strong combinations as you go. The gameplay is very dynamic, with a mix of shooting, abilities, and constant movement, and it leans into that one more run type of experience. There's also a lot of build variety, so you can experiment with different play styles and get some really overpowered setups. All the links are in the description, so if any of these games look interesting, definitely check them out while the discounts are still active. Next up is Call of Duty Modern Warfare, currently sitting at a massive 90% off. This is one of the best modern Call of Duty campaigns, with a darker tone, realistic missions, and some really intense moments that feel straight out of a movie. The gunplay is super satisfying, the visuals still look great, and the overall experience feels very polished. At this price, it's a great pickup if you enjoy story-driven shooters. And next we have Dying Light, also at 90% off. This is still one of the best zombie games ever made. Parkour movement, brutal melee combat, and that constant tension when night falls and everything becomes way more dangerous. Exploring the city during the day is fun, but at night the game turns into a completely different experience. And the best part is it's fully playable in co-op, which makes it even more fun with friends. Up next is Resident Evil 3, currently 90% off. A fast-paced survival horror experience with great visuals, tight gameplay, and constant pressure from Nemesis chasing you through the city. It's shorter than some other Resident Evil games, but the pacing is strong and the action never really slows down. For this price, it's definitely worth playing. Next we have The Long Dark, also sitting at 90% off. This is a hardcore survival game set in a frozen wilderness where you have to manage hunger, temperature, fatigue, and resources just to stay alive. There are no zombies or monsters, just nature itself trying to kill you. The atmosphere is incredibly strong and every decision matters. If you enjoy slow, immersive survival experiences, this one is absolutely worth it. And next is Scorn, currently 90% off. This is a very unique horror experience with a disturbing biomechanical art style inspired by H.R. Giger. The game focuses on exploration, puzzles, and atmosphere rather than action. Everything feels strange, unsettling, and intentionally uncomfortable. It's not for everyone, but if you enjoy experimental horror games, this is a great deal. Up next is Tiny Tina's Wonderlands, also dropping to 90% off. A fantasy spin-off of Borderlands with chaotic combat, tons of loot, and a lot of humor. You get magic abilities, guns, crazy enemies, and a full co-op experience. It's colorful, fast-paced, and perfect if you want something fun to play with friends. Next we have Metro Last Light Redux, sitting at a huge 95% off. This is one of the most atmospheric, story-driven shooters ever made. You explore dark underground tunnels, fight mutants, manage your resources, and try to survive in a brutal post-apocalyptic world. The story, immersion, and tension make it an unforgettable experience. And next is the Division bundle, currently 90% off. This includes both the Division and the Division 2, giving you two full looter-shooter experiences with co-op missions, open-world exploration, exploration, and tons of endgame content. For this price, it's an easy recommendation if you enjoy progression-based shooters. Up next is the Crew Motorfest, also at 90% off. A AAA open-world racing game with a huge map, tons of vehicles, and a lot of content to explore. Races, challenges, playlists, and constant progression make it really easy to lose hours just driving around. This is actually one of the best prices the game has ever had. Next up is Fallout New Vegas, currently sitting at a massive 90% off. This is one of the best RPGs ever made, period. The level of freedom here is insane. You can approach quests in completely different ways, side with different factions, and shape the entire story based on your choices. The writing is excellent, the world is packed with content, and even years later, it's still one of the deepest role-playing experiences you can find. At this price, it's an absolute must-have. Up next is A Way Out, again sitting at 90% off. This is still one of the best co-op experiences you can play. The entire game is built around two players working together, solving puzzles, escaping situations, and progressing through a fully cinematic story. The split-screen system constantly changes depending on what each player is doing, which makes the experience feel very dynamic. If you have someone to play with, this is an easy recommendation. Next, we have Need for Speed Heat, currently dropping to a huge 95% off. This is one of the strongest modern Need for Speed titles. During the day, you race in official events to earn money, and at night you take part in illegal street races where the police become extremely aggressive. The risk-reward system makes every night run intense because the more you earn, the more you can lose if you get caught. Fast cars, customization, and a great atmosphere make this a very fun racing game. And next is Titanfall 2, sitting at 90% off. This game is legendary at this point. The campaign is one of the best in any shooter, with creative level design and some really memorable mechanics. And the multiplayer combines fast movement with giant mech battles, which makes every match feel dynamic and exciting. Even today, Titanfall 2 is absolutely worth playing. Up next is Chivalry 2, also at 90% off. This is a chaotic medieval multiplayer game where huge battles break out with swords, axes, bows, and everything in between. The combat is brutal but also very fun, and the large-scale fights feel like something straight out of a movie. It's perfect if you just want to jump in and have fun without taking things too seriously. Next up is Vampyr, currently sitting at a massive 90% off. This is a story-driven action RPG set in a dark version of London during a deadly epidemic. You play as a doctor who becomes a vampire, and the entire game revolves around your choices. You can save people or feed on them to become stronger, and every decision directly affects the world around you. The atmosphere is heavy, the story is strong, and the moral choices actually matter. If you enjoy darker RPGs with meaningful decisions, this is definitely worth picking up. And finally, we have Petlands, which is sitting at a full 100% discount right now. That means you can add it to your library completely free while the offer is still active. It's a simple casual game, but when something is free to keep, it's always worth grabbing, because you never know when you might want to try it later. Thank you all so much for watching, and a huge thank you for all the support lately. We've already hit 8,000 subscribers, which is honestly incredible. If you're not subscribed yet, make sure to subscribe, because I post videos like this all the time with the best deals, biggest discounts, and free games you definitely don't want to miss. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.